Welcome, fellow TV hackers. This week, Viacom comes out from the shadows. A big play or too little, too late?
Then Facebook's video march continues with new hires and a new app.
And YouTube isn't going to sit still for all that, so they're expanding their live offering and adding a puzzling paid chat thingy.
Speaking of puzzling, we've got Donald Trump and fallout in the world of the nerd prom.
And sadly, more names to add to the growing Deadpool.
I'm Saul Hansel.
And I'm Steve Rosenbaum. And this
Hacking TV.
Hacking TV it is.
And
Welcome,
we're not
everyone.
dead yet.
We are. That's exactly right. So let's just dive right in because we got a lot to cover. Strangely busy week. Viacom. Spirit of full disclosure, my first really big out-of-the-box hit was at Viacom, MTV Unfiltered. Have a warm place in my heart for that team and that place.
And was Bob Bakish, who is now the CEO, part of the team when you were there?
No. Okay. Not. He might have been, but not anyone I've ever met.
You did not deal with him.
No. So, you know, first of all, the numbers were not good, right? The Q4 numbers were not good.
So the main thing they're known for, which is cable networks, lost money, right? So that's not good because cable networks aren't getting any better from here on out. And they did okay in movies, which is a hit or miss business, and they had Fences or something. But the bigger news is Baker's announced their new strategy, and guess what? It reads like a rubber stamp McKinsey report that nobody put any thought into.
Ooh, ouch. Ouch.
They're going to concentrate on their core businesses and generically do some of the crass things that other people do that help goose revenue.
So hold on. So you don't buy the Nickelodeon branded films as a turnaround play?
All right. So here's the story with the cable networks. They've got 25 cable networks in a world of skinny bundles. They are the fat farm, right? And they announced that they are going to concentrate on 6 of their 25 channels, which probably makes sense, except a quarter of the revenue in cable comes from the other 19 that nobody's ever heard of and nobody ever watches, and they get money from because of the archaic cable business model that's going to go away.
And just for our listeners who don't know the 6, do you know off the top of your head, or is there
I do. BET, Comedy Central, MTV, Nickelodeon, Nick Jr., and Spike TV, which is going to be rebranded the Paramount Network, which communicates exactly why you want to watch it. And
it's of paramount importance.
Either that or it's sort of continuous reruns of Into Thin Air.
And by the way, just for those of you, who are keeping track at home, Sumner Redstone still alive.
Okay, and he and his family own or control the voting shares for the majority of both Viacom, which owns Paramount, and CBS, which owns other stuff. So apparently not radio stations anymore. I think they sold those last. But anyway.
So Backish is Sherry Redstone's guy, right?
Presumably, she's the one trying to pull the strings. And if I didn't know better, I would have read this strategy as saying, we like what Bucus did, which is gussy the thing up, goose cash flow, and sell it to some big media, telecom company. And because there's nothing creative, I mean, they basically, in what they've announced, haven't announced anything that has to do with growth, innovation, or anything that you would actually want to invest in. They've announced, stop spending money on stupid things that nobody's going to want, and do things like creating a feature field called Amusement Park that you're going to co-market with Nickelodeon and maybe do live events around and do all the Disney stuff except for the creativity and the entertainment part.
The thing about company karma, morale, whatever you want to call it, is like it's not something you can just restart with click of a switch. I mean, you know, a lot of the old time fabulous people that made that place work, you know, are now gone. I mean,
what was it when you were there? And I've heard all kinds of stories. What was it that made Viacom and MTV Networks a good place to be?
So a couple of things. Frank Biondi, who was the CEO, was famously hands off on the creative of the individual networks. He let people really have freedom to take risks, do things, invent things. Freston was a great manager. Judy was terrific. Doug Herzog was great. There was great. It was a creative hotbed, and you wanted to work there, and you wanted to come back to work every day.
Here, now let me be a little bit fair to them, but I think the model works well in a lot of areas if you basically know what the business model is, and you can say to people, okay, we're going to make shit, and they watch the show, they watch our cable network, and the business guys will sell ads and they'll get money from the cable companies, and you can take a certain amount of risks, but basically if nobody watches you, you'll get fired, and we understand this, right? So that, and then in the movie business, you can basically say, make a bunch of movies and enough of them have to be hits to pay all the bills. In the world we're in now, when we don't really know, what the path is. I know what I would say to people, but it's not so clear. What are you telling people? Are people supposed to be creative doing? And so I think that they have a hard time hiring and empowering creative people.
Well, they've had lots of swings and misses in digital. They had a long running head start to get digital right, and really have pretty much taken a zero, right? So MTV does not exist on any device that you would define as modern. It's not on your phone. It's not on your laptop. It's not on your desktop computer. Maybe it is, but it's never made its way to me. Now, I'm not the target demo, but a target demo moved on. They moved over to YouTube, and maybe a little bit of Vivo, and then a little bit of what's the Musical.ly, and some of those other. There's all kinds of music going on.
So here's what I would do. I would say, all right, everybody is going to be a business that we're going to set up like HBO Now and ESPN Go. So we got 25 cable networks, and we are going to sell each of them a la carte for $5 or $10 a month. We'll also bundle them into cable. We'll also do other deals, but it's your job. And if you want to come up with some other model, fine. But the brand has to exist. It has to stand for something, and it has to prove that somebody is willing to pay money for it. And we're going to, just like there was a movement in news over the last several years to be digital first, right? We're a website first, and we have a print publication, right? I think that Viacom would solve its problems faster by saying we're OTT first. Yes, we do the other ways, but we're going to treat these things like they have to live and die, and not that they're going to get sold as part of some giant bundle sale to Comcast. And then you hire creative people to make something that's worth paying for.
Okay, so Mr. Backish, Saul Hansel he's here. He's ready to come in and fix all your problems. You just have to text him right now.
I will do it for only 125% of what McKinsey charged you.
All right, so let's move on to Facebook, which has done some interesting little things, right?
Well, they hired. Speaking of the whatever's left of the brains of MTV, they hired someone who ran scripted content for MTV. Now, remind me, what scripted content does MTV actually have? I don't know. Anyway, but whoever it was writing,
She was working on shows such as Faking It, Awkward, Finding Carter, Scream, Teen Wolf, Nicole Byer, Marion Jane, Sweet Vicious, and the Shannarara Chronicles. I'm just reading you what I got from The Verge.
Hired by Snapchat. What Facebook is the housewife network. Sorry. What?
Facebook has a nice long view of what they want to do in video, and to me, these two announcements, the video app combined with the hire, is a clue about where they're going. I mean, by the way,
I see them as potentially. I mean, look, Facebook has a lot of optionality because they have so much reach.
By the way, and a flippin' fire hose of cash, right? I mean,
but I don't think that saying we are going to develop original content for our thing is a strategy that has worked. It hasn't worked for YouTube. It hasn't worked for Twitter. I don't buy it. It's not impossible. Facebook's smart people, but Facebook should just go by Time Warner.
All right, so here's what I think.
What do you think?
So starting about 2 weeks ago on my Facebook app, there became this video button at the bottom of it. And when you click on it, it keeps wanting to tell you that they're videos. And when you click on it, it becomes a whole different experience. It's a linear video thing. And it's kind of hard to get out of. Like you have to swipe right to get back to the Facebook thing. If you remember,
do you like it? Does it do things for you that you want it to do?
No, not yet. But I feel that what they're trying to say is, here's a video. You just Saturday Night Live has a video, and then there's another one, and then there's another one. I gotta say, the irony today was it showed me the Saturday Night Live piece with the Spicer McCarthy, and then below that, with no irony suggested, it showed me the C-SPAN of Spicer's last press conference. So you could flip back and forth between McCarthy, Spicer, and real.
I mean, yes, YouTube makes $1 gazillion on that interface, and I hate it. It just, those algorithms are so arbitrary and random.
But here's what I'm saying. If you look at what they did with Messenger, right? They made this, give Zuckerberg credit. He said, I want my own communication app. I want to bring it out of the Facebook mother app, and he moved it over, and nobody loves it. Everyone's like, why do I have to go to this to look at a message that came? But that's the direction they're going in with video. They're going to...
Well, I actually think that's smart in a lot of ways because video is something you do at some degree, at least the video that makes money for people, you do it at a different time in a different place. So if Facebook can somehow make a more compelling Apple TV channel than somebody else, if it stands for something, you'll tune to it. Great. I mean, that's a distribution play. How you reconcile this sort of super YouTube distribution strategy with a content creation strategy that was a complete failure for YouTube, I'm not following.
So one more thing.
Yep.
I don't know if this is public yet, but it's not a secret. So our friend Dror Shimowitz, who's been running Watchable and was the big Comcast guy doing the Watchable version of Go90, is no longer at Comcast. He's now at Facebook.
Okay.
And he is running video monetization strategy.
And you know him better than I. What do you think?
I think he came from YouTube. He's a very smart guy. And I think, I don't think one person singularly makes the video play at Facebook or anywhere else, but you're starting to see a team of people, MTV, YouTube. I mean, they are recruiting and hiring the best of the best because they are in video for the long run, and I think they're going to win.
Cool.
So moving on, because we've now gobbled through half the show and we haven't even gotten to half the stories. Let's get to kind of the next headline here, which is YouTube. So did you see what they did with this paid chat thing? Did that make...
I mean, here's what to say. So YouTube is stopping doing big stupid things and is just sort of cashing checks, right? So Amazon's what's it called, Twitch, makes money selling emoticons, right? So if you want to like comment on somebody's game and you want like a fancy colored emoticon, you've got to pay some money, and that attracts the attention of whoever you want to attract the attention of, the gamer. And apparently this brings in tens of thousands of dollars a week for big creators. So YouTube copies it and says you can pay the money, and instead of an emoticon, you can just make your comment a different color and put it at the top of the list of the creator, so you're more likely to get a reply.
And it's called Super Chat.
And I mean, it's basically.
But hold on. That's so you're saying this literally is just YouTube stealing stuff from other guys?
Yeah.
That's a. By the way, you may have buried the lead. That's a pretty harsh criticism for a company that prides itself in being an engineering Uber power thing.
I mean, ultimately, when you look at the dominance of YouTube, as much as they have been challenged by Facebook in an important way, YouTube can be proud enough of its position in the world to put up with stealing a little bit here and there. I mean,
All right. So, and then they're doing an app of some sort or another. No,
they are. I missed that one.
Oh no, the mobile live thing. So they've opened up live video to essentially.
They're as typical for these companies, they start with a feature and they give it to a small number of their best content creators, and they've now lowered doing live to 10,000 people. I don't know why they're taking so long when Facebook lets everybody do live, but they're taking their own time.
All right, so moving along to the Trump tracker issue. We could cover so many things, but we won't because it's boring.
We're not going to talk about like the immigration ruling, the Ninth Circuit Court, et cetera, et cetera. But we're
definitely not going to talk about Nordstrom because we don't give a shit, right?
We are going to talk about the media-related question of should people go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner Party. And
there is, a real debate about this. There are people who believe that the White House Correspondents' Dinner is an abomination that reporters and the people they cover should never be, sitting in a big room in black tie, getting drunk together. And if you want to just be creepy for a moment, there is a subset of those people who believe that it was President Obama's brilliant but certainly pointed criticism of Donald Trump in the audience at that dinner that forced Trump, so embarrassed Trump that he said, "I'm going to run for president."
There are people who can, skipping past that one just for a second, on the bigger picture. I mean, you can argue both sides of this. My instinct is that better things happen if the people who have to do business with each other understand their humanity. There's a difference between like getting drunk with someone and being on their payroll, or getting,
Have you ever been to the? No,
I've been to other industry events of that sort.
Have you? You were invited and you turned them down?
I was never a White House correspondent.
Oh, fair enough. Because I've never been invited either, and I take that quite personally, which is why I think they should cancel the thing, because I've never been.
I mean, I have enjoyed watching Obama, who's quite good at it. I mean, I actually think that forcing a person in a job which is very easy to take yourself very seriously to, have to not be so serious is probably a good thing. I mean, if you say, if we were going to diagnose Donald Trump with narcissistic personality disorder, forcing him to have some humility might maybe be a little bit of useful treatment. Forcing the White House staff, which has declared the press to be an enemy, to sit and get drunk with them creates humanity. I mean,
All right, so the story that we pegged this on is that both the New Yorker and Vanity Fair are pulling out of their dinner parties, right?
And
which is the before the correspondence dinner.
And so you have got, the best part of that story is Graydon Carter, who, was a key part of Spy Magazine in the short-fingered vulgarian age, was asked why he did this, and he gave a 2-word answer: Trump and fish. And I just sort of like that combination.
I don't know if I understand. Fish meaning the food they serve?
No, he's going fishing instead.
Oh, I see. Now,
But
if you remember, the dry run of this was Donald Trump at the Al Smith dinner,
which is sort of excruciating.
Which was really kind of terrible. So you could argue that by killing the Correspondents Association dinner, they're kind of doing him a favor, because it's not, like, humor is not one of the...
Who wants to do him a favor?
Well, someone may. I mean...
look, there's a difference between canceling the event and not having a party related to it, right?
Well, but isn't that... that's what they're really... that's what they're really doing, right? I mean, they're...
but it's also... Look, I would argue that... Hello?
Sorry about
that. Maybe they're calling in. Maybe we have our live caller. We're asking...
We do not.
Trump himself, who clearly spends all his time watching the media, has worked his way down to watching our podcast. But I think that White House correspondents are needed now more than ever, and the field should be celebrated, and the profession should be honored.
All right, so moving on to the third section of our rundown for today, the sadly growing section known as the dead pool, which does seem...
We are putting not just dead, but lame and dying. So
yes.
Tremor Video, public company, still in the video ad tech business, no longer run by their 8-year CEO Bill Day, formerly of About.com.
And a good guy.
But video ad tech is your world. What's going on with Tremor?
Well, I only know what I read in the papers, so no inside information here. But, video is hard. Video ad tech is hard. And, I think that as a public company, there was hopes and prayers that there was going to be a big exit, and that someone would come in and buy up all the stock, and that all the stockholders would have a happy day. And, Tube Mogul got a big exit, and
remind me who bought Tube Mogul?
I should know that. Microsoft? No, Adobe.
Okay.
Somebody. 540 million is the number. I remember the number. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should find that out. So Google away.
Yeah.
I
Adobe.
Yeah. Good. Hey, I knew it was in there. So I don't know what happened to Bill. I think that their fourth quarter numbers were not terrific, and I think after 7 or 8 years, I will only say this: there are ways companies and CEOs part in which there's like a happy press release, and everyone's wished well, and there's a transition, and this was not one of those.
So the place in the ecosystem that these guys play is the everybody who isn't YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Snapchat, right? So they're in the business of helping the actual publishers, who make little video clips, sell video ads on them. And, collectively, that is, a reasonable sized market, but it's also the small, difficult, messy side of the market. So,
and as a public company, you're trying to make revenues go up as there's downward pressure on CPMs, and everything's moving toward programmatic, and programmatic makes things cheaper. And if I said to you, "Here's a thimble to bail this sinking boat with," and by the way, the water's going to rise and the thimble's going to get smaller. Like that would be it would get to be less fun over a period of time.
And you have to sell to stupid publishing companies. I
did not say that.
You didn't say that because you're too polite, but it's just, I cover media before I cover banks, and there's a circle in hell that's called you have a great idea and you have to like get all these big dumb institutions that have their own internal stuff to think about to buy your stuff to do the big idea, which they're going to do in a half-assed way, and it never is going to work. And then then you look stupid, and you do this for 5 years, and maybe you can exit to sell it to a big dumb company or not. But this is not my idea of fun.
All right, so moving on, Bleacher Report.
Right. Speaking of selling to a big dumb company,
so this one makes me sad. Not because they're laying people off, everyone lays, but because they're laying off. They really are moving away from their user-generated roots, which I thought was part of what made them awesome. So,
and did you ever watch any of the videos? So it started out as a sports company, a user-generated sports company. It gets sold to CNN, which is not, wants to do user-gen stuff. Has done iReport, but it's not their core. Did they do anything good under CNN?
Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm not a sports person, so I haven't been paying that close attention. But I mean, they laid off 50 people. They laid off a big chunk of the 150 employees. They laid off a third of the company. It was essentially everyone handling user-gen. So,
so CNN, part of Turner, part of Time Warner, soon to be part of AT&T. Wouldn't you think that a company that is wired to half the iPhones in America, etc., would be an interesting connection if you're doing user-gen stuff?
Reading the article from Digiday, it says a source stressed that the layoffs were an isolated situation to eliminate parts of the business that were no longer a priority.
Right. Nothing's a priority. Jeff sold the company. Anyway.
Well, okay, we have one more, and I hesitate to put this in the same category because I think we really don't yet know what it means, but it was announced in an odd kind of way, which was a Vivo reorganizing of its priorities.
So they had been saying they want to do a subscription service. It turns out there's a lot of music subscription services, and not that the ones that aren't Spotify or Apple are having a bit of a hard time. I mean, one of the things, we didn't put it on the list, but also happened is that Google has merged the YouTube Red team with the Google Play Music team. So they've got two different subscription services, YouTube Red being, a music-ish service, among other things. And they're trying to figure out what to do. So Google's having a hard time with this. And so if I was Vivo, I'd say, all right, I don't see a lot of people who aren't market leaders doing well with this. So why do I think I'm going to do okay? Do I have anything special?
By the way, I'd love to believe that's what it was.
And what do you believe it is instead?
So spirit of full disclosure, I really like Eric Huggers. We've known each other on and off for a bunch of years. I think he's really smart. He was the guy that did the original Intel TV thing that ended up getting mucked with when it got to Verizon. He went to Vivo with a big play in mind, and he's between a rock and a hard place because he's got owners that are mostly
record
just
labels.
like show me the money, record labels. And then he's got YouTube that is both his biggest distributor and arguably his biggest competitor. And so the subscription play was his, as I understand it, was his attempt to begin to build actual off YouTube monetization that would be like customers that are Vivo loyal customers. And he's always got this, I mean, his lever is that he can say to consumers, hey, look, XYZ label gave us a first, a 2-day window in advance on, the new Katy Perry video. You're going to get, you're going to get it first if you're a subscriber here. But I assume that Google YouTube again, I'm making this up. I don't know this for any inside information, but I mean, I would guess that there was some pushback from the Google YouTube guys to say to the labels, hey, you want to go out on your own? It's cold out there. Off you go. But understand, we're gonna push back in some, I don't know.
I feel like, we talk a lot about what advantage does having content give you in distribution, what advantage does having distribution give you in content? And the answer is clearly not zero, but it's not as easy as people think. I think it's the bully strategy, right? Can the record labels, who have built a lot on bully over the years, really, in this world, bully users and bully YouTube into saying, okay, you can't get our best stuff unless you go to our place? You have to have a lot of guts to go do that. And you probably have to do things that are running the risk of being antitrust violations.
And with that, ding, 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 we are out of time.
All right.
So we're just going to leave it at guts. Guts will be the theme for this week's show. Some people have it, some people don't. And some is left on the floor after you make sausages.
Or is it antitrust collusion? Anyway,
right.
We will leave you, our darling listener and viewer, to contemplate all this. If, as always, you have comments, you can send us your comments at hackers@hackingtv.news. You can tweet us at hackingtv. You can go to our website, hackingtv.news. We love to hear from you. We love your reviews. And we will do this for you again next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.